Mhm.
I sent you a trade and for the belt. I don't know that you'll be interested in it, but
I've
I
seen
sent
it.
it. Okay.
I've seen it.
Okay.
And I got to tell you, this goes out to everyone in For the Belt. Okay.
Okay. Oh gosh.
I put Jonathan Taylor on the block like week 10
That's true.
last year, and y'all's too good for him. And I want you to remember that now. You're trying to bottom feed, get him off my roster.
That's fair.
If you'd come at me then, you could have had him. You trying to give me table scraps for him now? A first and a
Oh,
second?
table scraps.
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun?
Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we are on a quest for dynasty domination. Welcome back to the show. We are getting kind of into a little coaching corner, if you will. So I'm going to let Dan take over and kind of let you guys know what that means for us.
Okay, yeah. So in years past, we always had AJ. He was like the coach's corner guru, and he did a great job. And we had a lot of fun with some of his fun rants. But we're gonna go ahead and try and touch on some of the subject matter that we've been missing without him. And to get into it, I think we're going to go through and look at some of the new offensive coordinator hires for the 2023 season, and get our feel on what it might mean, or some interesting tidbits from those hires. And as I always do, I'm going to give you a little bit of history
Woo.
lesson. Yeah. And to do that, we're going to just highlight the 2023 offensive coordinator hires. So in 2023, or in 2022, that's the history. There were 13 teams that had new offensive coordinators. Um, and then of those teams, there was some improvement on their statistics, which is helping us out in the fantasy world.
Mhm.
So we're just going to look at how it really went down. So of those 13 teams, there were only 5 of them who dropped in their passing ranking amongst the league, and that was the Rams, the Raiders, Packers, the Bears, and the Bills dropped one spot. So um, basically it's telling you that 8 out of those 13 teams improved, their passing rank among the league. So that's pretty exciting. It's worth noting that, Chicago went from 30th to last. I mentioned the Bills only dropped one spot, and those other 3 teams were all top 10 in 2021.
Mhm.
So, falling doesn't mean a disaster. Um, but actually 4 of the 13 teams jumped into the top 10
Oh
that
wow.
hadn't previously been, and that included Detroit,
Mm.
Jacksonville, Minnesota, and Miami. So it just kind of shows that getting a new OC might mean some excitement, some new blood,
Mhm.
new energy, pumping up the stat lines. And it carried over into the rushing totals as well. 4 of the teams had lower rushing rankings. So that means 9 of them improved. Pretty awesome. And several of them jumped into the top 10, including the Bears, the Giants, and the Panthers. So, all told, only the Rams dropped in their ranking for both passing and rushing. That means that all, 12 of the other teams improved in one of the other categories. And only the Broncos joined the Rams and having a lower point total with the new OC.
Hmm.
So, man, I mean, it means that new OC means good things. It means that something good is happening, some improvement is being made. So, as we get into 2023, we got to look at who's new, what's happening out there. And it's actually 16 new offensive coordinators.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that is a 50% turnover. And it's not pretty, OC is like a zero to or hero type of situation. And when you're looking at these 16 guys, I would say I believe only 3 of the 16 vacancies were voluntary departures, right?
Hmm.
So you got Shane Steichen, obviously that was a promotion to head coach. And then the other 2 were lateral moves with Eric Bieniemy and Kellen Moore. So it's kind of wild. So you're gonna pretty much kick ass or get fired pretty quick in this game. So with all that said and a little bit of history, I guess we're just gonna get straight into it, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how you want to get into these. You got a guy you're excited about or want to kick off with one?
Yeah. Well, I want to kick off with a really interesting one that I know you have some thoughts on as well.
Okay.
One of the more interesting offseason stories was Lamar Jackson. So it's only right that it's pretty interesting who's going to be his offensive coordinator. So we got Todd Monken coming in from Georgia. Last 3 seasons at Georgia, 2 national championships, all great news. And all we're hearing about is how Todd Monken wants to open up the offense. He wants to make Lamar a bit better thrower. And I think he's going to be like super efficient if we kind of look at like what he did in Georgia. But I don't see this like new hyper passing offense. In Georgia, they were averaging about 27 attempts per game, 36 on the rushing side. But they averaged almost 250 yards through the air. So that's like 10 per attempt. So it was really, really efficient, but they still didn't throw. So to me, like, I don't know, I see the same like Lamar offense that he was dominant in during his like MVP season at best, because you got a truly dominant tight end. You got Mark Andrews kind of taking over for Brock Bowers. No truly dominant wide receiver in the Georgia offense, and then a good to great running back, but not a superstar. And then Jackson's just out there doing Jackson stuff. Like, am I wrong? Should we not just kind of prepare for the same old Baltimore offense?
I think that I think he was hired to change it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So obviously, when you got Lamar, you have kind of a locked in set of skills that you're gonna dip
Yeah,
into.
for sure.
But I feel like I've got to feel like they got him to elevate Lamar. And but to your point, I've been looking at like his coaching history, and like he was a wide receivers coach for the Jags from '07 to 2010, and there was 0,000-yard receivers on that team,
Mhm.
on any of those teams. And then you fast forward to his time with Tampa Bay, and it's like, Jameis Winston YOLO time. And
Mhm.
so like that doesn't really translate.
Mhm.
And like you're saying, at Georgia with Stetson Bennett, I mean, not really a Lamar type quarterback.
True.
He's really not producing very many high end wide receivers at all.
Mhm.
If anything, they're leaning on passing to the running back, passing
Mhm.
to the tight end. So, I mean, I don't really see it as a natural fit for them to be a more pass happy offense through the wide receivers, but I do think they're going to force it and make it happen.
Mhm.
But I really believe that we're going to see the big bumps come through the running back and the
Mhm.
tight end receiving work,
Okay.
which is kind of what we've been waiting for Dobbins, and then a natural fit already with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. So I think that I think there will be more passing volume and more passing totals, but I don't think that it's going to translate into like hot wide receiver assets as far as fantasy goes. Um, but we were talking about a Ravens team that last year was 28th in passing, second in rushing, and 19th in total points. So I could see the rushing going down and the passing going up,
Mhm.
closer to the middle, but I don't think we're talking about a top half of the league passing game at all.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, so that was like a decision I had to make in our most recent draft, whether to go Zay Flowers or one of the other receivers, and that was kind of where I landed. Is that I just don't see a scenario where he's dominant enough to be fantasy like viable. And that's kind of, but like you're saying, we should see sparks from Mark Andrews and J.K. Dobbins and Lamar himself. So if he gets back to that MVP form, like especially in superflex leagues, that's what we want anyway. So as long as Todd Monken gets us MVP level Lamar back, it's good for the league. Just I still, yeah, like we're saying, I question the wide receiver viability in Baltimore.
Yeah, I will tell you one thing about Baltimore, and I'm going to be the first person to tell you this, but they will be the 2024 Super Bowl champions.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys follow the charts of the stars like I do, but if you look, Saturn and Venus will line up,
Ooh,
and it turns out that every team that parts ways with Marcus Peters wins the Super Bowl 1 year after parting with him. It worked for the Chiefs. It worked for the Rams. Marcus Peters is now with the Raiders. Take one season to let it marinate, and then the following season, a Super Bowl will be had. It is the curse of Marcus Peters. So there you go. Get your bets in while you can.
all right, fair enough. Well, so did you have another guy you wanted to get into or
Oh man, I guess so. I've got bunch of guys that I'm like half interested in. None of it really makes sense to me. But I guess I'm gonna have to say Eric Bieniemy.
Mm,
I mean, this breaks my heart so many ways, because he's been with the Chiefs for several years, and we talked about it like he was a running backs coach. He was a running back coach with the Vikings previously, and he had AP, he had Jamal
mhm.
Charles, he had all this success in the running game, and then he gets up to the offensive coordinator role, and he's under Andy Reid. We know that, and he's got Pat Mahomes, and it's like shit, what is this guy really worth? Like, actually, what has he done aside from the successful players he's surrounded himself with? Fast forward to Ron Rivera and the Washington football team. And outside of the wide receiver room, we don't really have studs on this team. There's not going to be, unless, I mean, could be wrong about Brian Robinson. Maybe Eric Bieniemy is going to come out and make him the truth, a top 12 running back or something like that. But I don't really see it coming. This is one that I'm not like hyped on. I really think this is a kind of a one and done for this whole lineup, and it comes with the new ownership as well. But I'm just thinking, if you guys are getting excited about Sam Howell and like what could be, I'm a little bit scared. We got to look at this team that first in passing, 12th in rushing, and 24th in points scored last year. And it's still around Rivera. It's still pretty much the same team. It just has Sam Howell as the quarterback, which could be cool. And then Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator. So it doesn't really move the needle for me. So we're talking about, I mean, I was talking about all these teams that are taking a bump in either passing or rushing when it comes to the new OC. And honestly, I don't see it really coming for this team in the passing game, but there could be more heavier rushing. But I guess this is more of a warning that don't be excited about Eric Bieniemy. I saw this coming when they hired Matt Nagy as the quarterbacks coach last year. We all saw this happening. So, I mean, I know there's some sweet pieces on that team, but I'm scared, and I'm kind of backing away from them slowly.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, they feel like the team that's gonna fall on their face and disappoint. There's a lot of hype right now in the Twitter sphere about Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. Rightfully so, those guys are studs. And like now you're seeing all this stuff. Oh, Sam Howell. A lot of people had Sam Howell rated as better than where he was drafted. Da 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 da. And you're like, okay, yeah, cool. Then why didn't anybody draft him? I don't know. Like, I hope he's good, and he could be. Like, he very well could be. I'm not saying that there's no chance, but to just kind of sign up and say, hey, yeah, here we go. This is going to be great seems a bit premature to me, especially like you're saying, like let's see it, Bieniemy, and like
Yeah,
I you can't hate on a guy for just succeeding in the situation he was given. That's just where he was. He was in Kansas City. But especially exactly you pointed it out when you look at like Matt Nagy leaving, getting a coach of the year and then just having a pitiful offense for 2 years to the point where he gets fired and then they bring him back in. If Bieniemy struggles and then Matt Nagy does quote good in Kansas City when it's really Andy Reid, that's just going to make Bieniemy's case even harder because if he struggles, it's like, okay, yeah, then it all is Andy Reid. So he needs to come out and do well. And like you're saying, Ron Rivera's on the hot seat as well. There's new ownership in Washington. They're going to want to make the team their own. If they don't see immediate results, they just spent a kabillion jillion dollars on this team. They want this team to be successful. So I'm kind of with you. I could see them cleaning house if they're not good, and I could see it kind of going off the rails early, unless Sam Howell just really is the guy.
absolutely. Yeah, I'd love it if that happened.
That
But
would be cool.
I think you got volume Terry, red zone, Dotson, and maybe Brian Robinson proves me wrong. And that's pretty much where I'm drawing the line on that team. So
Well, fair
I don't
enough.
know. I feel like we said Matt Nagy's name enough that we might as well
I mean,
say half of a sentence about him.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure Casey's going to be good. You got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelsey, and we're hearing good things about Sky Moore and Rasheed Rice and all these guys. They'll get it done, but it's not Matt Nagy. He's
Right.
not like adding a ton in my eyes.
Yeah. I do feel like he vibes well with Mahomes
He
pretty
must,
hard.
yeah. They would have had to. That makes sense to bring him back. So
Absolutely. So good job. Good job, Matt Nagy. You're the best. Moving right on. You want to jump into it, dude?
yeah, let's see here. So we all know Sean Payton is going to Denver, and he's an offensive genius and a dick. Um,
Yeah,
but,
you taking that personally?
but I kind of don't. I don't want to. I'm sure like he brings the air of a Hall of Famer with him, obviously. But I want to talk about Joe Lombardi, the guy that he brought over to be the offensive coordinator with him in Denver. Joe Lombardi, the past 2 seasons, was the Chargers offensive coordinator, or excuse me, QB coach. Then he was, before that, he was the QB coach with Drew Brees from 2009 to 2020 with a small little trip to go hang out with Matthew Stafford in Detroit from 2014 to 2015. During this time, his offenses have always had success. So in points, last year they were 13th. The Chargers were in yards. They were ninth. The year before that, they were fifth and fourth. Then with the Saints, the 3 years before he moved on, he was fifth in points, 12th in yards, third in points, ninth in yards, third in points, eighth in yards. And then with the Lions, not so much, 22 and 19, and then 18 and 20th in yards, respectively, in those 2 seasons. But he's worked well with these quarterbacks. And to me, like Sean Payton bringing him back, unfortunately for me, I think it means we're going to see a more efficient Russell Wilson. Um, they've just showed this success level together. They've been able to get these quarterbacks to kind of play at just an excellent level typically, and I don't see that changing. On like, unfortunately for a guy like me that would love to see Denver crash and burn with these two guys at the helm, I don't think we're seeing that.
Yeah, well, you got the Russ jersey, dude. So you gotta hope that it, man, what if it became cool, you know?
I'd be so upset.
What if he became successful? But like you're saying, I mean, this is Sean Payton's old homie, you know? Like this is the Saints reunited. So now it's we're moving from Drew Brees straight into Russell Wilson, which is a seamless transition. The air is a little thinner. Sea
Justin
level
Herbert
is
stop in the middle.
yeah. So I think that you're right. I think it is going to be successful. But yeah, I think that he's not really going to be given any credit for it. it's
Probably
gonna
not.
be like a Sean Payton type thing. But yeah, these guys move around a ton, man. He had some time as the OC with Detroit, as you mentioned there.
Mhm.
He's not the only guy on this new list for OC world that has spent some time as the OC with Detroit. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Jim Bob
Hooter.
Cooter, dude. He is a new OC for the Indianapolis Colts.
Mhm.
And yeah, he spent some time with Detroit. It was like 2014 through 2018. Some prime time with Stafford. He was with the Colts before as an offensive assistant from '09 to 2011. So he did have some time with Peyton Manning and also Matthew Stafford before being with the Eagles as a consultant in 2021. And then last year, he was a passing game coordinator for the Jags. So it's kind of all over the place as far as success. Like he's been around success, and
Mhm.
now he's joining Shane Steichen with the Colts. And I got to tell you, man, this is going to be interesting just with the Anthony Richardson factor.
Mhm.
Um, but he's been on teams that have been extremely pass heavy
Mhm.
and not very much on the running side. And you got to let's just get this out there. I feel like Jonathan Taylor, blah blah blah,
Mhm.
probably going to be on the Colts. Probably going to play pretty well. I'm just going to hope
Yeah.
that they work it out or whatever. Everyone's happy. But I'm not gonna go into the season assuming that he's not part of the team. So this team is gonna be kind of a 1-2 rush attack, I think, with Taylor and Anthony Richardson. And the hiring of him as the offensive coordinator, given his success with high-end passers and passing game work, working with Trevor Lawrence and system with Doug Peterson last year with the Jaguars, kind of just furthers something you've been saying this whole time, which is I think Anthony Richardson, they're going to try and skip the scramble game, skip the early Lamar type stuff, and go straight to established passer. Um, and so I think that this team has like a sneaky chance, especially with this coaching staff, to just take that step and skip the bullshit and look like kind of a seasoned, established team coming right out the gate
Mhm.
with Anthony Richardson under center. So I don't know, man. The Colts were such a train wreck last year. They were 31st in scoring. Their passing was 23rd, and also their rushing game was 23rd ranked. Their highlight was beating the Chiefs due to one Chris Jones. Hilarious. I can only imagine what he whispered in the ear of Stafford or of Matt Ryan as he drew the penalty that got them that victory. But aside from that, it was a kind of a dumpster fire of a year, man. And
Mhm.
I think they're going to bounce back in a heavy way. So I don't know if you look at this hiring is it's substantial. I feel like they came out of this offseason with the best new coaching room possible.
Oh, I
Well, out
agree.
of the
And
entire league.
yeah, no, for sure. And I, like you're saying, Jim Bob Cooter, he's worked with tons and tons of great quarterbacks. You got Peyton Manning, Matthew Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, like all these guys have been successful. So he's been around it. He knows how to train. And then the other thing, like you're saying, I think they are going to start early looking at Shane Steichen. He was involved in Justin Herbert's rookie season and now Jalen Hurts' first season as a starter. So he's not like he's used to just playing guys that don't have a lot of experience and kind of thrusting the whole offense on them and expecting them to do well. And it's worked out for him. So I think you get the kind of the passing game specialty experience out of Jim Bob Cooter, and then the Shane Steichen. He knows exactly how to run that offense like he did with Jalen Hurts, and he's been there, done it with young, fresh quarterbacks and made them successful. And that's why I think like it's exciting. That's why everybody's excited about Anthony Richardson. I think it can work really, really well. And I think, like you're saying, I think they got the best coaching tree out of the spot. And Anthony Richardson couldn't have landed in a better situation to help his skill set, in my opinion. Now, huge caveat: I always get excited about the Colts, so watch them crash and burn again. But That's where I'm at again.
I feel like yeah, there's a certain class of team that it's like excitement without the substance.
Hmm.
I know for a fact we're gonna get to another one of them pretty quick here. Um, but yeah, damn, was that my lead? Did you want to switch off?
Oh yeah, I mean that's kind of all I had for that one.
Yep. Some of these are gonna be
Um,
quick and dirty.
we're getting into the stretch territory, quick and dirty territory for sure. As far as okay, so I'm gonna bring up one that more of just a quick funny thing that I noticed. What Bobby Slowick is the new offense coordinator for the Houston Texans, comes over from the San Francisco 49ers, where he's the passing game coordinator.
Mhm.
What are these made up job titles that this man had? Like offensive assistant, that's nothing. That What did you do? Passing game specialist, passing game coordinator. What are the
Mhm.
difference? What is the difference between those two jobs? Why did the job title change between two
Mhm.
years? I don't understand. It's this guy's hidden job. It just made me laugh. I mean, obviously we know like being tied to the offense right now is kind of the gold mine for the NFL, especially if he's younger. I don't know that Slowick is. I don't know his age, but like that's kind of the gold mine that the NFL wants to be in right now. It just made me laugh because the other
It's 36, I think.
okay, so 36. So right in that room. So I just thought it was really funny. That that was kind of all I had for that one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, this guy, I love all these guys were born in 1986 or 1987. Just so everybody knows what we're dealing with. It's like the 35 to 40 range, like that's the sweet spot for these up and coming guys. But
Hmm.
yeah, Bobby Slowick, he come in 2011. Okay, and so he's in there with Washington, and this is like that crew. This is a
Hmm.
crew. It had LaFleur, McDaniels, McVay, Shanahan, right? Shanahan, who was Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan on this squad. And it just so happens that Bob Slowick, his father, was also on this team. So it's two generations there. His dad was a DC in the NFL for 16 years. So yeah, this is like, I don't know. This guy's been around, he's done a lot of stuff. And yeah, there are some weird job titles, not just at San Francisco. LA has some weird ones too. But yeah, this guy was an analyst for PFF for a couple of
Oh,
years
that's nice.
in there as well. So he went from like that Washington crew and then took some PFF time, and then he's been, with Shanahan in San Francisco for a number of years. Which yeah, the passing game coordinator. But he joined in 2019. That was Debo's rookie year.
Mm.
So you got to think that like, he's bringing some of that weird kind of Shanahan, see what happens kind of attitude to this
Mm.
Houston team that is completely wide open. Like no one has a clue what's going to end up happening. And, they've got D'Amico Ryans, who's from the off or the defensive side. So it's kind of his thing to mold
Yeah.
coming in with Stroud, man. Like I don't know, man. It I'm actually pretty fascinated to see what happens here.
It should work. I mean, Stroud kind of fits really well in like a Shanahan type offense, like deliver the ball on time accurately type of thing. That's kind of Stroud's whole deal. So I think it can work for sure. You got to think back in the day that Washington lunchroom, those like 12 guys were like, dude, we're gonna run this bitch one day. We're running the whole NFL. And it happened, man. It's wild.
Follow me. Yeah, it's nuts, man. It's pretty exciting. So I guess just with that whole like cluster of gentlemen, you got to go ahead and go after the Thomas Brown angle here
Hmm.
too.
Yeah.
So he was the Rams assistant head coach which I don't know what that means either. But now he's with the Panthers, and Frank Reich and that first wave there. Um, so I guess we'll see what goes down with him. He was like a fairly legitimate college running back for Georgia. He
Hmm.
put up like 3,000 all-purpose yards and 25 touchdowns over 4 years, and he stuck with what he knew. And he had several like running back coaching jobs, a lot of like single year jobs though, which is super weird. I don't like. I'm not into that so much, but he hopped around quite a bit, and then ultimately ended up with the Rams, and he spent 3 years there, kind of working his way up to becoming the assistant head coach for what was like an abysmal year for the Rams, to be 28th in rushing, 27th in passing, like 27th in overall points scored. So like that doesn't really hit his resume very hard. But I like Frank Reich. I think you like Frank Reich.
Mm-hmm.
And now seeing this guy's background, I'm kind of like heating up on Miles Sanders, just seeing like
Okay.
a known running back, a familiar running back coach, kind of going through from the Rams, who tried to run the ball a lot with anyone who could stay healthy, and then roll straight into this offense. So they went out and got Miles Sanders. I don't know, man. Kind of just getting into this made me heat up on Sanders a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know that I'm heating up on Sanders quite that
Aw.
much, but I did like that Thomas Brown, like his positional assignments were like the really highly efficient assignments in or positions in a McVay Shanahan offense. He was the tight end coach and the running back coach at two different times, which, as we know, that's like Kittle, Higbee, just consistently crushing it. And then you have at running back a myriad of guys that come in and have success, sustained success at like no matter who's there. So, like you're saying, you got a guy who is good, is established, and now he's coming into an offense that usually helps out the running back anyway. Could definitely see Sanders benefiting. And it's the same reason, or one of the reasons I like Hayden Hurst as well. And that could help Bryce Young out a lot. A stable running game with a consistent over the middle option to bail him out of situations could help his development a lot. So I'm kind of with you. Like I like Frank Reich already and the way he like works his offense. And then if Thomas Brown comes in here and kind of highlights the importance of the two positions that he's used to, like this could work. I don't know that they're going to come out of the gates dropping 30 points on people weekly, but I think they could be efficient and productive.
Yeah, I think it's going to be safer and methodical, and I think the run game is going to be part of keeping it safe, a la the New York Giants of last year type situation. We'll see how that goes, though. Okay, I'm reviewing the list, and I don't know. I'm just going to hit a couple of high level guys, and I don't think we have to go very deep, but we got Nathaniel Hackett, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to say anything.
I mean, all there is to say is Rodgers likes him a lot, really likes the way he goes about his business, and a happy Rodgers we've seen play extremely well. And that entire year under Hackett, the couple years under Hackett, everybody in the offense talked about how much they liked him. He brings this positive energy, and at the end of the day, like it worked. You're banking on his relationship with Rodgers, though. That's what you're banking on, is that what happened in 2020 and 2021 will translate over to the Jets just because these two guys work together. And if it does, then it's going to work like gangbusters. But if it doesn't, then that's kind of a sad indictment on Nathaniel Hackett as a football mind.
Yeah, it's kind of a package deal, right? With the
Mhm.
Rodgers, man. OC, it seems like the fuse in this in every team's, like if something's gonna blow, it's the OC. The OC blows, it saves the rest of the team.
Mhm.
It's kind of funny. Yeah, heck, it's fun, and Sean Payton is not fun. Apparently, is what I'm getting out of the recent news cycle. So we got Brian Johnson. He's Philadelphia Eagles OC. Internal hire come from the quarterback room.
Yeah, I mean, sliding over from quarterbacks, we know that Jalen Hurts is familiar with him and his work ethic and his style of teaching. So, like, should be fairly productive.
Right on.
Not to just make it seem really easy to transition to a new guy, but like, if you're gonna do it, yeah, it makes sense to go to the quarterbacks coach of the guy that you just had his most successful season.
Yeah, I'm with you, dude. Um, yeah, so Tim Kelly is another internal hire for the Titans from the
Mm.
pass game coordinator to the OC. I didn't know there was a pass game to coordinate in Tennessee. So we'll see how he does coordinating the offense, but this is kind of a mystery. I feel like this team's hopefully does better than we're all expecting to. But
Which, to be fair, they under Mike Vrabel have consistently done better than we or I at least expected them to. So if any team's gonna buck the kind of trend or buck the general thought about them, it would be the Titans, given recent history.
absolutely. And then just going back to my correlation between new OCs and improvement of ranking in these categories, they added Hopkins and they were
Mm.
30th in passing last year. So that's got to go up. 28th in scoring. Feel like that has to go
Mhm.
up as well.
Yeah.
So this team is going to be, I think it's going to be a fun one to watch. Uh, Titans. I watched the quarterback on Netflix and they showed that Marcus Mariota throwing the pass deflected to himself when they beat us in
Mhm.
the playoffs game. They beat us Chiefs in the playoffs game. And it hurts, man. I don't like
Can
watching that
imagine.
play. I don't want to see any D Ford lined up offside stuff. Like I don't want to see any of this stuff. Keep it out of my eyes.
Fair.
Okay, we got Bill O'Brien. He's the OC now with the Patriots. Dude,
I mean, he's got experience as an offensive coordinator, which is more than you can say about the OC in New England last season. So
for sure. Without a doubt, man. I'm pretty pumped, man. I mean, I think that he was never really a bad coach. He was just a really, really, really bad GM. And he kind of was chewing on too much there.
yeah, which
And
begs
a
the
crappy
question.
organization too. So
Yeah, which begs the question why he just like got the GM job for no reason, with no like proof that he could do it. It seemed weird that that was like part of his deal, but
yeah. And it was like of an era when we were seeing weird GM stuff. I just
mhm.
always think of Dorsey going through it. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Um, yeah, I actually think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be good for Mac Jones.
Yeah,
I think they're going
probably.
to do not like this. Don't hear what I'm saying, but hear what I mean. It's like they're going to do like a Kansas City light with their wide receiver room, where like they might not have a star, but they're going to be able to keep the ball moving. You know, even with Juju, it's like the same situation a little bit there. So I'm excited. I think they definitely improve. Yeah, I guess I didn't really write down their stuff from last year, but I feel like they're definitely going to improve. So we'll just leave it at that. Let's see who else we got. What about Mike LaFleur, dude?
This is an interesting one. I don't know. He never really got a fair shake um in the Jets. Like with the Jets, like just the quarterback play was pretty atrocious last season. But that's also like partly his job is to improve the quarterback play. So like how much of it is on him, how much of it is on Zach Wilson. And now he's going to a place where like he's not gonna get a lot of credit if the Rams are good this season, like Sean McVay's there. He's the guy. So it gives him an opportunity to go back to an offense he's familiar with, which I guess he should have been creating the offense, so he should have been familiar with it last season. But kind of like maybe sit and just relearn, have a position, and just kind of be with somebody he's familiar with. But it's hard to give him too much credit for working with Sean McVay.
Yeah, it's got to be the Rams. I mean, everyone's kind of dogging on him, but I feel like they're a middle of the road team as long as they're healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I know they got a lot of youth, but like that's not always a bad thing.
Not
So
necessarily.
we'll see. We'll see where they end up. I think offensively, though, it should be pretty cool. Really
Mhm.
looking for that Van Jefferson breakout year, man. It's going to happen.
Let's go.
All right. So we got Dave Canales. He is the OC now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he is coming straight from Seattle, like a huge chunk of Seattle, 12 years, wide receivers coach for the first 8, straight into quarterbacks coach, a little bit of passing game coordinator, and then back to quarterbacks. So I guess he had I mean, that's a huge chunk of time, and he
Mhm.
was with USC before that. So I mean, think what you will there. So him and Pete are pretty tight. We've seen some really good wideouts coming through
Mhm.
Seattle over that time period, and then now you throw them in Tampa Bay, where I mean, damn, these wide receivers are nuts.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you took
Arguably,
Gino as a quarterback coach and made that shit happen,
well, that was what I was gonna mention is like he just took a guy who looked like a complete bust and turned him into a Pro Bowl caliber player. Not taking any credit away from everybody else that helped Gino get there, including Gino himself, but like he was there. He was there to kind of help him develop into a plus starter. And let's see if we can do the same thing with Baker Mayfield. Because like you're saying, he's got the weapons down there to send off some firepower if he can just direct it the right way.
hell yeah. Or Kyle Trask, okay?
Or
All
Kyle
right.
Trask.
Or
Yeah.
Kyle, no. Like, who the fuck? Kyle Trask isn't going to be starting on this
Probably
team,
not.
right? Why do you
Probably
keep
not.
saying this shit? It's cracking me up a little bit. Um, okay, we got some fireworks here. I'm looking, we're getting pretty close, man, but I think there's like 3 guys left. So um, I guess we'll throw Brian Schottenheimer is coming in.
Hmm.
Um, he is with Dallas. He was with Seattle for a long time as well, and
This
and
is the
now
Yeah, this is an interesting one because Mike McCarthy took play calling duties back over and presumably still has them. And so like it's again like one of these situations, and it's weird because one of the guys we still need to get into, Kellen Moore, is the guy leaving and leaving a hole here. But Kellen Moore was the guy that had to stay on when Mike McCarthy got hired uh after they let go of Jason Garrett, and now they're just like he walks and they're almost just replacing him with, I don't know, I just feel like Mike McCarthy is just that role now. Like he just, instead of this weird power struggle where Kellen Moore was in charge of the offense, even though Mike McCarthy was an offensive minded coach, they've kind of just given the reins to McCarthy. And I don't know if that's the best idea or like a pretty good idea. I'm not sure. But it's interesting. I just don't know what to expect from Schottenheimer.
yeah, I think that we're gonna see. I don't know, man. I was I was almost confident in saying I really do think it's gonna be. They keep talking about the run game. I think it's gonna be a passing game boost. I think a lot of it comes from Brandon Cooks. I keep talking about him, but Schottenheimer feels like he could probably aid in that. But he's not a bump from Kellen Moore. I saw a little short interview with the Mike McCarthy, and
Mm-hmm.
he was cackling quietly, very kind of childishly joyful about calling plays. So
That's
yeah,
good.
I think that yeah, well, he's optimistic. I don't know if I am.
Mm.
I think Jerry was like, "Hey man, you're fired," and he's like, "Give me one more season and let me call plays, and if I don't do well, then you can fire me." So I think that's what we're going on here. Schottenheimer is kind of like an old hat in this game, so just kind of get a veteran coaching presence here as a safety net. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe he's a good guy to step in as interim if things don't start off too hot. Because I feel like I don't know if enough people are talking about McCarthy as maybe being a hot seat coach, but it feels like that's part of it.
Very much so. Yeah.
So all of that was just original thought in the last 2 minutes. So enjoy.
Hell yeah.
Um, okay, I'm gonna do the Drew Petzing,
Mm.
offensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals.
Ooh.
Yeah. This guy, I don't know too much about him, but he has done some stuff in the Ivy League, a little time with Harvard and Yale, and even some time with Boston College.
Mhm.
But now he jumped in with Zimmer in the 2014 years with the Vikings, and he worked his way up to wide receiver coach. So he was there for a long time, from 2014 through 2019, had different kind of offensive jobs, even assistant quarterback coach. But yeah, he was a wide receivers coach for a couple of years, and ultimately in 2019 was his last year with the Vikings. That was also Stephon Diggs last year with the Vikings. So if you're excited about like wide receivers being unhappy with their situation and the guy that was the OC for them, you might be excited about old Drew here. But it wasn't like he didn't get cut from the team. It turns out that Kevin Stefanski really liked him. So when he went over to Cleveland, um, so did Drew Petzing. So he went over there and was the tight ends coach, and ultimately last year was a quarterback coach. And I don't know, man. Looking at the tight ends with the Browns over the past couple of years, it was like the three-headed monster of Njoku and Austin Hooper and Harrison Bryant. And like those guys are all like household names, but there were really three people sharing the workload of one good tight end.
Mm-hmm.
So he sends them over to Arizona, and it's like, I don't know what to expect. Maybe I've been looking for Trey McBride to step up in a big way. So maybe a guy who's got an affinity for the tight end position, that could happen. But I think that one thing being overlooked possibly is the quarterback year last year. Deshaun Watson clearly not that great.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to remember, like, Jacoby Brissett was kind of like hot fire, not like amazing, but really pretty good Brissett level stuff
Mm-hmm.
with a couple of quarterback 1 years or weeks in there. So in a year that we're looking at pretty much a backup quarterback season in
Mm-hmm.
Arizona, I think this guy could. I think he could be a little bit of a quarterback whisperer, man. I think he could make some stuff glue together. And he's joining Gannon, who was also part of that like 2014 era Zimmer inaugural staff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some old ties there. I don't know, man. I'm kind of optimistic when like, old friends get together and, they got a feeling or they got a chemistry and they're really walking into a blank slate with the Cardinals. I think they want to lose, right? Why wouldn't you? But
Mm-hmm.
I do think that they're going to have some respectable play in doing so. So
Hmm.
hopefully it's a classy tank. I think a classy tank is headed our way.
I think they're going to be pretty bad, to be honest.
Damn, just all the
There's,
way shitty, huh?
yeah, I think there's a high likelihood that Clayton Tune is like starting meaningful games, which is just not great. It's not great. I don't know. Like maybe he's Brock Purdy or
Was
Tom
it
Brady,
he's
but
the
like,
Houston guy?
yeah, or I don't even know, honestly. Clayton Tune, rookie out of,
I think it's Houston, but I could be wrong.
let us see. This shouldn't be as hard as it is.
Okay.
Houston,
Well,
you were right.
yep.
4 years out of Houston, fifth round pick
You know what?
139.
All he ever did was make Tank Dell a thing, dude.
That's
So
fair, and we'll see. Like you said, Petzing's been around some pretty successful offenses. The Vikings from 14 to 19, random explosions with the Browns, but I don't know. I just think this is a tank, and I'm not excited about anything coming out of Arizona right now.
all right, dude. It's unless Marcus Peters goes there, right? And then we
Yeah, and
can
then they're
know.
gonna be out
And then when he
winning a Super
leaves,
Bowl.
and then it's like the thing okay. Well, the crown jewel of the offseason offensive coordinator positional switcheroo shuffled and dealt. We have Kellen Moore, dude. He
Yeah.
is now with the Chargers. What up with that?
Yeah, this is the one. It's gotten a lot of people, including myself, excited. Like I mentioned earlier, they famously kept Moore when they hired McCarthy, and for good reason. The Cowboys' offense in 2019 was sixth in points and first in yards, and that was Jason Garrett's last season. So they fired him, moving on to McCarthy, kept Moore. They fell down a bit in 2020, finishing 17th and 14th, but seven different players threw a pass for the Cowboys that season, including CeeDee Lamb and the punter. So, like, kind of give him a
Love that.
wash. Because then in 2021, he was first in yards and first in points, which is just pretty crazy. And then in 2022, they were fourth and 11th. That's 4 games without Dak. And here's to me why I think you should be excited about the Chargers and Quentin Johnston is that I don't think Dak is like this crazy quarterback that makes the offense around him a lot better. And I think Justin Herbert is. And now you add in a guy with Kellen Moore, who I think was helping Dak kind of expand the offense and
Oh
kind of
no.
like start to push the ball down the field more. His first season with Dak jumped up to a yards per attempt of 8.4, and then it's kind of reeled back down from there. I feel like Moore wanted to leave because he wants to push the offense farther. He wants to do deeper work. And that's why I think you should be excited with Herbert and Quentin Johnston, especially how much we've already heard that they're pushing the ball downfield. Justin Herbert's throwing deep a lot in training camp. And that's just kind of, I think that's the Kellen Moore effect. This is the way they want to go. They want to be balling out consistently. He got in an argument with Mike McCarthy about running the ball too much. So he just leaves and goes somewhere where they want to throw the ball more than anybody on earth, it seems like. And I'm here for it because I believe in Justin Herbert and I believe in Kellen Moore.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know what you say to that. I mean, obviously, you're right. The Chargers were 30th in rushing yards last year and third in passing, but the big problem was that they were 13th in scoring, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Joe Lombardi, get out of here. Kellen Mond, or yeah, Kellen Moore. Whew, please don't bring Kellen
Kellen
Mond
Mond.
in.
Yeah, don't
Holy
do
shit.
that.
That's bad news. Yeah, so I think you're right, man. This is like the final ingredient. You mentioned the Colts, like preseason hype, like always going for it, always getting
Mm-hmm.
in on them. That's how the Chargers have been like
True.
forever.
Yeah.
And they might have finally figured out what they needed to do to make it happen, man. Because Staley's a defensive guy, and
Mm-hmm.
so now you bring in, I guess, probably like one of the hottest coordinators from like
Recent memory.
2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like everyone thought they made him stay when the coaching change happened, so that he could ultimately become the Cowboys head coach. Like that was the whole
Mm-hmm.
storyline. Um, Apparently that was not the case. But I feel like, yeah, magic is about to happen up in Los Angeles.
I'm with you.
So I'm a little scared of it. I mean, they've always been like a drive away from greatness,
Mm-hmm.
and they could be a drive ahead of it now. They could be flipping it all the way.
Injury plagued team too, so they've dealt with a lot of that's kept them down. So if they can get this going and this works the way it seems like it could, yeah, I think they could be dangerous.
Yeah, really bad at drafting backup running backs too. Maybe this is what we needed for Larry Roundtree to finally become
To break
the
out.
guy. Yeah. Maybe those cards I bought would finally be worth something.
There you go. All right. Well, that about wraps up our coaching corner. Dan, what are we getting into next week?
We're going with the all RDR team, baby.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're getting into redraft season.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna tickle a little bit of round by round players that we want. We're gonna try to build our dream roster the old fashioned way, not a real mock draft, but like a dream fake mock draft where we don't make shit up. We just go with who's available in the rounds that we're picking them and see what we can do. That made plenty of sense.
It makes perfect sense to me. I'm excited. We don't get into a lot of redraft talk. So if you're big redraft fans, be sure to join us next week for that. But until then, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, y'all.
I took a lease out on